Hi, this is Jamie Franklin, curator here at the Bennington Museum. Welcome to another tour at 10. Today we're standing in our regional arts gallery here on the first floor, just adjacent to the Grandma Moses Gallery at the Grandma Moses Schoolhouse. And just a few weeks ago, we opened a new exhibition of paintings and multimedia works by Dusty Boynton. The name of the exhibition is Boundless, which kind of conveys the sort of spontaneous joie de vivre that you kind of get a feel for as we look at some of Dusty's work here in the exhibition. Dusty is an artist who lives and works up in the northern part of Vermont. And this exhibition was planned in coordination with 571 Projects, which is run by Sophie Breshew West out of Stowe, which is not far from where Dusty works. And I first became familiar with Dusty's work in about 2018 when she had a show at the Burlington City Arts Gallery there in Burlington. And when Sophie, who grew up here in Bennington, approached me about the idea of showing Dusty's work, I was really excited. I love the sort of, what is often explained when people talk about Dusty's work as kind of the childlike quality to her work. But when you really start to look deeply at it, you realize Dusty, who is in her 80s, has lived a long, full life. And when people hear that the creator of these kind of wonderful, exuberant works is in their 80s, they kind of take a step back. But Dusty is this wonderful, joyful person, and she has lived a long life full of joys, sorrows, pain, and she kind of projects those into her paintings. And what I think is really wonderful is she talks about her artistic process. She never approaches a blank canvas with a preconceived idea of what she wants to do. You know, some artists, let's just take, for example, a very famous one, also connected with our part of Vermont, Norman Rockwell. They had a very clear idea. Norman Rockwell planned out his pictures very carefully. He took photographs of models, he drew lots of sketches, he drew full-scale, highly finished charcoal drawings before he ever touched his brush to canvas. Dusty Boynton, on the other hand, begins a canvas without any sense of what the picture is going to look like or what it's about. And yet she's able to create these really wonderfully sophisticated pictures of people, kind of hybrid animals and creatures. Here in this painting, which is titled Summer Fun, we have this kind of dinosaur-like creature. Often these figures in Dusty's work, you can't really say what they are. A goldfinch-like bird flying above its head, flowers, a mushroom. You just get this wonderful sense through the color, through the action of summer fun. And of course, this exhibition was originally planned prior to the pandemic and was supposed to be here at the museum last summer. But about half of the works were actually created since the pandemic began. And Sophie Breshew West, who was the co-curator with me, decided we really wanted to highlight the sort of recent work, which was so full of joy. I think as many artists and people in the larger society, during this time of pandemic, when we've been dealing with so many difficult things, with death, with sickness, with social divisions, Dusty really chose to embrace kind of the joy and happiness of life, and you see that in so many of her works. If you maybe just pan right over here, we can see a couple more of her paintings. The one on the left that you're looking at now is called Living the Life. And then as we come down the ramp further into the gallery, this one is called Positive Approach. She really is able to capture kind of relationships between people, and that's one of the things that I love so much about her work. Despite how kind of loose and kind of loosely painted and abstract and almost childlike the drawing can be, she really captures kind of human emotions and psychology and really relationships between the figures in her painting. As we move down into the gallery, some of these larger multi-figure works. I love this one called Town Meeting, and when I first visited her studio and saw this painting and heard the title, I knew I immediately wanted to have it in the exhibition, because I think there's no more kind of iconic Vermont institution than the town meeting, when everybody goes and gets together in March to talk about the priorities of our small towns here in Vermont. And I love this kind of motley mix of characters, with the kind of large figure in the center wearing the Dr. Seussian-like hat, this figure on the far right balancing a plate with a snake in the upper right-hand corner. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, Dusty doesn't come to these pictures with a narrative, and the titles she gives them are something that she typically gives them after the fact. But one of the things, again, that I love so much about Dusty's work, as we turn around and look at another one of these paintings, this one's called World Peace and Ice Cream, is that Dusty's work allows us to project ourselves into her painting. And not only does she create these wonderful relationships between the painted figures and her canvas, but I think she also allows the viewer to project themselves into relationships with these figures as well. And finally, as we come here to the end of the gallery, well, most of the paintings in this exhibition really are fun, joyful celebrations of life. As I said, Dusty's lived a long life full of all of the experiences that we have as human beings. And there are a couple of works, this one's one of my favorites, that are a little darker, slightly menacing. You don't quite know what the relationship between the figure on the left and the figure on the right. This is called Odd Couple. You don't know if that kind of animal mask-like figure with the beaky mouth and teeth is grinning menacingly at the other figure, or if they're just engaging in a chat. But then finally, we chose to display a number of very large-scale works, despite the fact that this is a fairly small-scale gallery, and you really get enveloped by the color and kind of joy of these works. And this last one at the end of the wall is Too Much Fun. You really do get a sense of fun with all these hybrid characters. This figure that looks like it might be an insect or a bird, but it's wearing a winter hat. They're just full of energy and life. And I really encourage you to come and see these paintings in person. Dusty is a great artist, and it's hard to see in reproduction, but she has such a beautiful job of layering color, and really come and experience not just the images that she's created, but the kind of quality of line and paint, which you can't really see unless you come in person. So I really do encourage you to come and see this exhibition, Boundless, works by Dusty Boynton, which will be on view here in our Regional Arts Gallery through the end of the year. So thanks for joining me for another tour at 10, and I'll see you again soon.